29th, 2026 at 3:32 p.m. Roll call, please.
Mayor Carly,
Here.
Mayor Bird,
Here.
Mayor Young,
Here.
Mayor Source.
Here. Here.
Yes, here, and Chair Okamura.
Here. Thank you very much. I'm going to open it up now for public comment, and this is for any item that is not on our agenda tonight or this afternoon, and we only have one item on. Any public comments? Yes. Right, I will open up public comment again. Yes, we do have a general public.
Address some housekeeping items. I searched for your meeting on the SGA site. This is a selection committee that puts members for the LAFCO board. So I would think that LAFCO would want to put that on their website to inform the general public. We have two very large projects that are going to be considered by LAFCO. One is outside of Dixon, south of Dixon, the Harvest Project. And you also have California, Florida that keeps booming on the horizon. I think to keep the public informed, you should have those items posted on their website. I emailed the LAFCO board and they said, well, they're not part of the LAFCO. Well, that's bureaucratic nonsense.
I mean, you people pick the people, I don't really need that, but thank you. You people pick the members, two mayors, to represent this group on all the mayors in the county on that board. So I think it should be there. The second thing is when I came in, your secretary said you need to fill out a speaker card. And that is incorrect. It's a voluntary thing. Matter of fact, she is supposed to say it's voluntary. That's in the Brown Act. Thank you very much. That's all I have.
Thank you. Okay, are there any further public comments? See none, I'll close public comments and we'll move on to 3, which is business. Appoint one mayor as primary representative to LAFCO for the term of May 4th, 2026 through May 6th, 2030. I believe, Ms. Graves, you have some comments.
Good afternoon, Chair and Committee. As a follow-up from our last meeting, this information will not pertain to today because we have all 7 of you here, but just as a good amount of information for if we're ever in this situation again, as it pertains to LAFCO. Since we have 7, I've already said that. Under Government Code Section 56334, the term of office for each commissioner shall be 4 years and until the appointment and qualification of his or her successor. Therefore, it was asked at the last meeting, what would happen if no one was appointed? The person that has been appointed would remain in that position until the committee appointed someone new, or in the case of Mayor Carly, when he was no longer mayor. So that is just a cleanup from that information. The other thing that was discussed at length was recusal. So what I'm going to speak on is specific to the legal, not any optics. So I just want to make that clear, just the legal. Under Government Code 56336, the representation by a member or alternate of a city or district shall not disqualify or be cause for disqualification of the member or alternate from acting on a proposal affecting the city or the district, and any regulation providing for disqualification of a city or district representative for that reason is null and void. That's directly from Government Code. So therefore, LAFCO cannot adopt regulations that would disqualify a commissioner from voting on a proposal that would affect the commissioner's city or district. So in other words, unless the voting member was going to have personal gain from the item, they're not required to recuse themselves simply because it pertains to their district or city. So that is just cleanup from the last meeting.
Right. Thank you very much for that clarification. Of course, there's the optics side as well. So there's 2 sides of the equation. But thank you for that clarification. Are there any questions? I also want to say that for clarity as well, that we'll use Rosenberg's rules for when we're making the decision on how we're taking nominations, et cetera. And so I'll ask if there are any questions specific to this decision or what we're going to be ruling on today, or if not, I'll open it up for public comment and then bring it back and we can say our piece. Questions?
From the public before we.
Yes, yes. No questions. Okay, then I'm going to open it up for public comment. Are there any speaker cards or any people that would like to speak?
So I have 3 public comment cards and then, I do not have anybody online who wishes to speak. So we have 3 public comment cards for people in person.
Okay,
The first speaker will be Bob Berman,
thank you.
and I will set a timer for 3 minutes.
Mr. Berman.
Thank you. I'm Bob Berman, live in Benicia. Hello, everybody. At the your previous meeting, I know that you had difficulty finding the second commissioner. And the existing mayor indicated he had an interest in being reappointed. I do have a question, and maybe somebody can clarify. My understanding is Mr. Cawley was elected to be mayor of Vacaville in November 2022, and that is for a 4-year term. So if my math is right, it ends either at the end of 2026 or the beginning 2027 when he was sworn in. Also, I think we're all aware that Mr. Cawley is now running for the Board of Supervisors. And there was an article in the March 12th, 2026 Daily Republic. And of course, I believe everything I read in the Daily Republic. But in that article, Mr. Cawley indicated that he is running for the Board of Supervisors, and he stated that he does not intend to run for a second term of the Vacaville mayor. So irrespective of what happens in his race for a supervisor, whether he wins or loses, it's my understanding the end of 2026 will no longer be mayor of Vacaville. So my only question then is, what would you want to consider, or what would you want to reappoint to a member representing the mayors who was going to be the mayor in 2026 and to 2027 going forward? Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker 2.
Next speaker is Jim DeClos.
Thank you. I'm Jim DeClos, and I'm a resident of Solano County. What I want to ask you today is to appoint someone who will be fair on LAFCO. Now, recently I was looking at the mission statement of LAFCO, and of course the elephant in the room is California Forever. A approval by LAFCO of California Forever would violate the fundamental mission of LAFCO. Likewise, I was looking this morning at the 6 mandatory standards of LAFCO for an annexation and the 5 discretionary standards for annexation. This California Forever proposal would violate all 6 mandatory standards and 4 of the 5 discretionary standards of LAFCO. That is, I want to point out just how outside of the box this proposal by California Forever is. Under current county law, every member, every voter in Solano County has to vote on this. There is a proposal to weasel around that requirement. Last night at the Suisun City Council meeting, there was a resident of Rio Vista. That resident of Rio Vista said, if this proposal goes through, we get all of the impacts. It's closer to us than it is to where we were sitting in the city council meeting chamber of Suisun City. So those residents of Rio Vista would be severely impacted as an Oakland size or Minneapolis size or Cleveland size city funnels through a narrow opening in Highway 12. Fairfield would be impacted. As a matter of fact, that traffic generated will impact from Sacramento to Oakland. It'll impact everyone in Solano County. Yet this proposal steals the legitimate vote away from other residents, non-Suisun City residents of Solano County. But more than that, this is a big decision. Justice demands that everyone in Solano County gets a say, and LAFCO is where that justice will be served. So I'm asking you to appoint someone who doesn't have a preconceived notion that, I'm asking for procedure. Someone doesn't have a preconceived notion that they're in favor of California Forever, despite the irregularities, despite the shortcuts, despite all of the problems with that proposal will have at LAFCO. Thank you.
Time, thank you. And one final.
I have one final card.
Good afternoon. I don't want to beat up a dead horse. So what this gentleman said at the first is exactly why I want to speak. I don't see the point of having Mayor Carley appointed to this position if he's truly running for the Board of Supervisors. It seems like anyone who signs any type of NDAs, regardless of legality or not, the optics on anyone who's working for California Forever or with California Forever shouldn't have, and if they have less time than 6 months, shouldn't have a place on this board. And thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you. On that note, we have no more speaker cards. I don't believe there's anyone online that wishes to speak. So I'm going to close public comment on this item and bring it back. Since I do have the gavel, I get to speak first. So I'll speak first, and then we'll take everyone else will have their opportunity to speak, and then we'll open it up to nominations. So I would say that Mr. DeClose's comments were the most impactful to me, in that we need to find somebody that's going to be on LAFCO that is going to be fair to all parties. And so when I look at it, and this is going to make people mad on both sides, and that I've gone into this where it seems like, because we all have to recognize this, you say that it's the elephant in the room. I'd say it's the only thing in the room at this point, really. And so we could pretend there's other issues that are going on in the county, but when you consider both shipbuilding in California and the housing project, those are the biggest things that have hit our county in generations. And so we need something that's going to be fair. And I'm advocating for myself simply because I think the two sides, one side says California Forever all in, meaning you take the project as it is, as soon as accepted the application, said, we want that whole project exactly as it is. And then the no side says, we don't want to have anything to do with it. And I say the right side to come from is to ask the questions that I don't feel are being asked by anyone, quite frankly, because as I read through the application and I look at the various land uses, proposed land uses, some of them have nothing to do with housing. Some of them in some of the proposals on shipbuilding. And once again, I completely support shipbuilding in this region 100%. But I think questions come along with that. Just like with housing, when you think about housing in the region, how many houses or how many jobs are going to be generated through shipbuilding or any other large project that's here? You first do the math. You do the math on that, and then from there you say, okay, that's going to require so many housing units in our county. I can guarantee you, and I haven't done the math, but I know Rio Vista has 1,100 units that are about to be, we're about to sign the development agreement on. I know Fairfield has projects. I know Vacaville has projects. There are housing units that have infrastructure in the ground already and are ready to go. So these are the questions that we need to ask. I'm not saying I'm absolutely not a no-growth person. I believe that we need to look at it critically and ask the right questions. For instance, and I'll add, just throw in one last one, when you think about proposed solar from 113 all the way to Rio Vista's border, that is 5 miles of solar and battery storage proposed. I'm not against the idea of new alternative energy sources, but my question is whether you need that to power up a city when we've proven to this date that we could put solar on roofs and power up a home, and we could power up our cars. And the foundry, which I also would support in many respects, I want to ask the question. When you have the foundry and you put solar on top of that, do you need other solar? So then the question becomes, what are the other uses that they are looking to do? And I'm not going to go into them right now, but I could tell you, if you read the document, you will see that there are uses that I would consider potentially, well, not potentially, they're unanswered questions that need to be taken to the public and vetted before decisions are made. So I stand firm from the side of, I'm in the middle on this. I want to have the answers first. So I'll start with.
Well, I think
We had
that's Ron over here.
We had
I'm sorry. I wasn't looking for them, so I was just gonna,
I think you were next.
Sir, one moment, please.
yes.
Mayor, or Chair, were you nominating yourself? Was that a nomination?
No, it was not. I was just gonna statement and I'll take nominations after.
All right, thank you, sir.
So I'm gonna figure this out.
Mayor Bird was next.
Bert, thank you.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, a couple of the comments from public that kind of resonated with me was this time issue. And I'm not quite sure how relevant that is because there is a process in place. If someone on this board is removed or goes to another location, office, whatever, there's a process for us to be able to replace that. So that in itself probably isn't enough to make a decision one way or another. But the important thing here to me is LAFCO is a very complex and unique board to be on. I mean, of all the boards that I serve, this is probably the most complex and really important because it's our future with the cities and our county. And as someone mentioned something about fairness, I don't think there's anyone on this board that's not a fair person. You know, we all have different opinions and points of view, but everybody up here is honorable and can make a fair decision where all the facts come forward. And, you know, talking about the elephant in the room, we don't have all the facts on that. I certainly don't. I'm not in any kind of position to make any determination until I get more information. But the thing that I do want to point out is, you know, when you reappoint an incumbent, it's important to think about how long the person has been on LAFCO. So experience and wisdom have a lot to do with being in this position. When I first came to LAFCO, I was learning. I knew it was an experience. I knew there was a lot entailed and involved with it. But being on LAFCO, I've been to 2 of the 3 conferences in the last 3 years, and that's a learning process. And once you start to understand it, I mean, you just kind of get your feet going after a couple of years on the board. So when you get a new person on the board, unless you've served on a LAFCO before, there's a lot of catching up time to do. So I think an incumbent brings to the table that wisdom and experience that we need and is important to us. So that needs to be considered as well. I'm not sure why everyone seems to be directing things to Mayor Carley, but I mean, he hasn't done anything inappropriate on this board since he's been on it. He's been very open. He asked the right questions. He asked some hard questions. In fact, he's probably one of the most prepared board members when he comes to the meeting. So I don't have a problem with that. And at this point, I'd submit my nomination again, as I did last time, for Mr. Carley, the incumbent, to be reappointed again. But like I said, experience and wisdom are everything. If something happens in the next year where should he not be mayor anymore, we have mechanisms in place to refill that position. And that's what we're about. So that shouldn't be an issue. So thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. And it sounds like you made a nomination. Okay, is there a second?
So we're gonna have comments first before nomination.
Well, all right, well, okay, we'll wait and then we'll take your nomination first. So thank you. I think Mayor Carley, you had a comment first.
I have a comment
Yeah.
and I will accept that nomination. If that allows for a second, I'll at least start the conversation. First and foremost, I really do enjoy the position this last year for the audience and for those who are online. Like many boards, there's people who come and go and they're replaced. My appointment on this board was based upon a vacancy for a replacement. And it was from a former mayor that had no longer continued in the role. And so there is a viable process that works, just like anytime any one of us as mayors reappoint or fill positions. So I think for the public's perspective, and I think we all know this, but just for the sake of transparency, this board, and I said it last time, I appreciated the support and the nomination and ultimately the selection to serve on LAFCO. We all serve on many boards, and this particular one is, to your point, the complexity is real and it does require someone who's going to be fair. Absolutely needs someone who is going to be a critical thinker to understand the issues. And I know sometimes there's some issues that came up as far as recusals and I appreciate that there's been a legal response, both from LAFCO and how it was correlated here. And that is, we all must recuse ourselves based upon the rules if we have a personal benefit from a project. And it happens all the time in our cities. And through legal counsel, we do it all the time. Optics are one thing, but the reality is I can't think of too often on LAFCO when there's a decision being made that a member of the agency that is affected isn't voting on it. There is a de-annexation of an SID issue so that there can be a review and move forward. You have to have tax sharing agreements. All these things are complex issues with response to LAFCO. And for those of us who serve on LAFCO and have gone through the trainings and have gone to the seminars and have leaned into staff, it is a real responsibility. And so continuity is a big deal. And so I get it. I've been on it for a year. Clarification. I love the fact that you don't listen, or you don't, like I spent 32 years in law enforcement, 7 years as a chief. I've been misquoted so many times. The question is simply whether or not, well, what are you going to do? I said, well, the way an election works, this is a primary. So as a primary, there's no guarantee what the future is. And so what is your intent? I said, my intent will be to continue from the primary, because sometimes, as any of us know, you don't necessarily win in a primary. Sometimes you may if they're unopposed, but it requires 50% plus one. And so in just a dialogue with a reporter, and Mayor, you know of all of your whole career, and so I was fully misquoted. I don't need to go correct it. The future of any of us is determined based upon a pathway that's in front of us, whether you're successful. And I do appreciate the vote of confidence last time we were all here, that many of you thought, well, you're likely to be the nomination and to be successful. And so I can appreciate how that would weigh on my fellow mayors here, that you're making a decision with some forethought in mind. I totally understand that. And I do believe that if I'm not successful in at least continuing, because I do plan on being successful, but my future isn't like a determined, oh no, I am not running. It's simply, I can't run for 2 seats at the same time. Well, I know what we can agree to disagree. I know I have the floor. Sorry. But the reality is no one in the right mind is going to be running for 2 offices at the same time. And so I simply had a dialogue with a reporter. That's the way they decided to say it. And so my future is not determined until there's outcomes that I will make the decision on, not because of a headline. It sounded good in the headline, but that wasn't the context, just for clarification. Whether I'm correct or not, that was the context. So as mayor, I will also tell you that it's important that anyone who steps into the LAFCO role doesn't mean that you don't have an idea or an assumption or opinion. It's whether or not you'll ask good questions, be critical. And the process is there's incorporated land and there's unincorporated land. We talk about a shipyard. Yes, I've been vocal about our economic opportunities. I think that we have to explore them. And so for the record, since this is not a discussion about a project, an NDA simply means in the business world that you're not entitled to share things that are confidential. And you do that so you can understand a project or you can understand an issue. For no other reason. It's not done in secret. It's simply so that if there is an issue or an incident that can be shared, it can be shared in context of confidentiality so that you don't talk about it. It's the only way sometimes you can ask real good questions. In government, sometimes you might say that's called either a closed session or that might be something, but in industries, these are standard. It's not It's not to be secretive about something. It's so that you can ask questions that maybe a company is not going to offer to the public. And that is clear. And so I very much signed an NDA so that I could sit down and ask questions. And so I have an understanding of things that maybe the public doesn't. It doesn't change anything. It just means one thing and one thing only about me. I think it would always be irresponsible and anyone on LAFCO to think that you shouldn't be curious and lean into projects. And I'll just land it with this. If the appointment of this position now, knowing that I would like to continue, and for all I know, I could be the mayor for the next 4 years. I don't know. I'm all in on running for District 4, yes. But just like I was a fill-in replacement, this board can easily fill a position. If you're looking for longevity, that might sway your opinion. But I would be honored to continue to serve until a time when that vacancy occurs. The vacancy is there now, and so the timing may be in front of you making this decision. But California Forever should not be the litmus test for this appointment. Because when I hear that this is the elephant in the room, I've been working for the last 4 years on 2 major areas of sphere of influence for the city of Vacaville. Why? Because we're focusing on what do we do as a county, and nothing should be binary. It's not you're either 100% for something or you're 100% against something. You have to focus on the real issues, and you only do it when you're curious and you ask the right questions, and you're understanding that LAFCO looks at MSR. So major projects, I think you know this, that it's not going to just be, well, let's just rubber stamp something. A city has to demonstrate it. And if there's ever a city right now that's in the middle of LAFCO, it's Vacaville. In as much as there's studies going on in a city, there's actual projects that are in front of LAFCO that have affected all of our cities. And we've gone through it as a city. So I would just say to all of us, we're all impacted by LAFCO, and so are all of our residents. So I would be honored to continue to stay if you would have me. And like I said last time, I hope that I haven't done anything wrong. My approach to decision making and all I've done as a leader, as a chief of police, and also as mayor, is to be fair, to be curious, to look at what is in the best interest of the parties that are involved, and what are the consequences and unintended consequences of action. And so I would like to continue in this position, and I would accept that motion.
Great. Thank you for your comments. I see the next slide is Mayor Young.
Thank you. A couple of things. Carly said that all of us have issues in front of LAFCO. I'm not sure that's actually true. Okay, because Benicia does not. I don't think Vallejo does. What is special about this appointment is that several of you do have projects that are either within or proposed to be within or right next to your communities. And to me, it seems like you would want to provide a little distance from that process to allow you to act as a mayor and not use that position also as a LAFCO commissioner to influence something that's also going to be important to your community. But the larger point, I think, is that LAFCO has not had a representative from Southern Solano County, from Benicia or Vallejo since 2001. 25 years. So Southern Solano County has been kept out of the LAFCO process. And so I'm going to be nominating Mayor Soros for this for that reason, and also because of balance. I think it's not only geographic balance that's needed in something like this, but also Mayor Dixon represents a small town. Mayor Bode represents a small town. Mayor Soros represents a big city. So to have that kind of balance between big and small, between north and south, I think, and it does not, Mayor Soros does not have a conflict in the sense that there is an annexation pending that's going to affect Vallejo. And so I think that gives her the ability to act a little more impartially than others who have a project in their or on the edge of their cities. So I'd like to make that nomination, but I guess we have to.
Yeah, we'll just wait it out.
Okay, one moment. Thank you.
I think the next slide that I saw was Mayor Moy.
So Mayor Carly, you cracked me up. I'm gonna tell you why, because I'm actually thinking of running for two things at once. I'm mayor and supervisor, and it's totally legal. It's been done in Fairfield. My lawyers have looked into it, and yeah, and then you get to choose, and you do have to be nuts. And yeah, I'm a little kooky sometimes. But what I wanted to tell all of you is to assure you that I looked at the meeting that I missed and listened to everything, and I hear more of that now. I appreciate everybody's input, and Mayor Carly and everybody here who currently serves on LAFCO. I don't believe that it's some magical seat. I believe that all of us are citizens who get elected, and then, you know, you drink out of fire hoses and you learn. And I'm still learning, and I'm really old at this now. You know, I mean, coming up on 18 years. And I'm still learning. I never sat on LAFCO. I tried, but you all didn't want me there. That's okay. So I just want to say that it's okay not to have had all those things and to learn. And new people, newly elected people, whether it's a mayor in Fairfield or a supervisor or a mayor in Vacaville, are going to learn. And if they don't, then you have a problem. But I have full faith in everybody here that every one of us can be fair, one, two, get up to speed. So, and I am, I've spoken with a couple of the mayors, three, and including me, and did that so I could feel a little bit more about why, if it was beyond what I'd heard here. And so I am concerned that Southern Solano County has not had somebody for 25 years. It's just like Fairfield, the main part of Fairfield, not having a supervisor from there for 20 years. It's something that is bothersome. And it's not fair. And if you can correct that, I think that might be a good idea. But I'm going to listen to everybody else here and see where we go. And again, I appreciate everybody and also the public speakers. And I like your suggestions, sir, about and people. Everybody should know, and clerks should say, you do not have to ever give your name. You don't have to do that. That's not part of the Byrne Act. You're correct. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Solis.
Thank you. So I'll kind of continue with the summarizing of much of what we discussed at the last meeting. And I think I appreciated frankly, the robust discussion we had last time. I think we all got a good chuckle by the 6-3-3 vote, but in the sort of comedy of it was a lot of substance and a lot of really important discussion. I will do what everyone else has done. I'll go ahead and re-accept/second Mayor Young's nomination of myself. And, you know, as I said last meeting, it's not that I was running for office going, gosh, my number one goal in the world is to be on LAFCO. This is really important. But I think as we were approaching this particular moment and this particular nomination, we had, at least for me, I had to kind of step back and take a bird's eye look at what's going on and where we want our county to be heading in the coming years. And, you know, Mayor Young already said balance. That was something I brought up last time with, I think, the combo of a big city and a small city, of a north and a south, just having some balance on the board. The piece of that for me that is important, I concur. I think there's, you know, any one of us would take that, whoever's selected to represent the mayors on that board is going to feel that sense of responsibility to represent the mayors and learn and do their homework and be, you know, fair and objective. For me, the big thing is the public trust. California Forever risks just tearing our county apart. We've already seen it from just these mayor's meetings when we started, at least when I took office, we were just kind of hanging out on Zoom. Maybe somebody popped in. And now we're here. And last time we had our mayor's meeting, we had almost a full house of people. And I think it's because our constituents are looking, some feel very strongly one way, some feel very strongly the other way. Some are just sort of looking to make sure they can trust their elected officials. Because to the point, I think it was Mayor Byrd made the point, I would concur completely. We don't have nearly enough information to know what this is. And I think our community feels that too. They're going, oh my gosh, it was this, then it was that, then it was a lagoon, then it was a foundry, then it was a ship thing, and then it's a. So how do I look as a resident of this county? How do I look at my elected officials and know that I'm represented, and that there's a trust there? And I've said this from the kind of the moment we started these mayor's meetings, that we've got to figure out how to unify as a county, both to just sort of show, both to just deal with our own issues and move ourselves forward, but also to show what pluralism looks like in this country right now, because there's just a lot of toxicity and tension, and we've got this major elephant, whatever we want to call it, it could go one of two ways very easily. We could either be in the New York Times for having crazy meetings with protests and signs and screaming and throwing and, just vicious infighting, or we could be this sort of flagship, look at this county that through this incredible strife and diversity came together to move itself forward, because we all know what all our assets are, which is we're between Sacramento and San Francisco and Napa, and we have open space and ag and left and right and center and urban and rural, and we all know why our county's great. We've got to have public trust. And I think having myself on LAFCO, economics professor, representation for South County, a bigger city in combo with Mayor Byrd, I think that gives, and in combo with the supervisors we can look at that whole balance of the elected officials on the board, you get a lot more of that feeling, I think, of residents of, okay, there's a process here that I can trust, because we don't know what the outcome's going to be, but they need to look at it and go, okay, I trust that process. I'm not seeing 4 people that just represent Vacaville and Dixon, or 4 people that just represent small cities, or 4 people that just represent big cities. I'm seeing a mix here. And I'm seeing a more transparent process. So that's why I'm accepting the nomination. That's why I've put my hat in the ring, not because it was any personal ambition of mine, but because it just feels like the right thing for our county in this moment. So I appreciate the confidence from my colleagues, ready to learn up and ready to all work together to make sure that everybody feels represented in this decision, including, as I said last meeting, the impacted folks in Rio Vista area, our agricultural folks. Without anything really going before the board in Vallejo, I'll have a lot of opportunity to get to know the rest of the county and make sure everybody's represented.
Great. Thank you for your comments. And I thank everyone for all of their comments. Did you?
Yes. Thank you so much. I really respect all of my colleagues. I think that we all bring a lot of heart and passion to anything that we do, having sat on a variety of ad hocs, going deep dives on some really, really complex subject matter. I've grown to both learn more about you and respect the work that you all do. A couple of things that I just wanted to provide some context for, based on some of the commentary I heard from members of the public. I believe that I did want to answer to the gentleman regarding the video of the this meeting. I believe it's held at the county website. Is that correct? The City Selection Committee has a webpage that is linked to the Clerk of the Board's page, since government code mandates that the Clerk of the Board is the clerk for the City Selection Committee. So on the Clerk of the Board's page, there is a link to the City Selection Committee. The video is up there. These are the agendas.
Thank you. The other piece that I wanted to note, there's some commentary about California Forever. We've talked about them in the past as well. And it is important that members of the community have an understanding that the California Forever is the largest landowner in Solano County, which means that they should be communicating to members of the Board of Supervisors. They should be, whether they're having questions or answers or opportunities to connect. If one of our members of the Board of Supervisors or mayors are not having dialogue with one of the agencies that is going to have the greatest influence of what's going to come to Solano County, we're behind the 8 ball and we're not representing our constituents in the way that we can question and actually bring our concerns. And I know that Mayor Kimura have, through Solano EDC, the first question and pushback we had at that moment was Highway 12. It's like, what are you going to do about Highway 12? And so being able to ensure that we're having conversations with any entity, regardless if it's one of the largest landowners or any developer that's might potentially annex in our surrounding areas, is an important conversation to have. So I'm saying that because we have to actually just in the role of LAFCO, you're looking at the evidence presented in front of you. I think we've noted that in the past, and so I think any of the members here will be able to navigate that piece. Because the Suisun City had been kind of noted and referenced, I do want to note that where we are in that process, for context, is Suisun City is going through the environmental impact report studies for the rest of this year. The city council will not really see anything to make a decision on probably into 27, and LAFCO will probably not see anything till probably 28. So it's also not a get on here because, you know, an expansion. It's like it goes through process, and it does go through LAFCO. It's through Cortez, Knox, Hertzberg. It's very clear that there is a process for LAFCO for projects of, even though it's different, exactly for the purposes of navigating it. So it does qualify to come before that board. And so I want to make sure that I note that there is a process associated to that. Those are my comments. I just wanted to, once again, like I have as last time you saw, I had a hard time because I see the value that everyone's bringing to the table. The one comment that I did take back with me when I re-listened to the video that kind of did cause me some concern was Mayor Young noted that a Board of Supervisors reached out to him that we needed more South County representation at LAFCO, yet the Board of Supervisors had the opportunity to do that for themselves. Supervisors should not be lobbying one of our mayors. The supervisor should lobby their own colleagues about bringing South County representation. Currently, the mayor, the supervisor representing Fairfield-Suisun, supervisor representing Vacaville, supervisor representing Dixon is not there. Now, what are my concerns as you all consider the voting process? My concern and why I leaned the last time was procedural. With John Vasquez, Supervisor John Vasquez, currently not able to attend the LAFCO meetings, and he is one of the voting members who's currently being replaced by the alternate, which is Supervisor Williams. There's a gap already right now in today's current workload year. So now we don't have Supervisor Vasquez, and my concern was that then we would be down another member who would also have all the training that's needed to do the work for this year, for the remainder of the year itself, which is Mayor Carly. And so those are my concerns that I'm just naming, that we would be down 2 members of the current LAFCO board that would not be able to continue their work if they weren't, because they're not there in regards to all the work that's taking place right now in our full load. So I just wanted to provide that commentary. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. And the board, were you going to nominations or?
And some comments based on what my colleagues said, just to
Okay.
share some things. First, my colleague from Benicia, one of his points was there's no representation from South County. I just wanted to point out that that should not be the sole reason for appointing someone to that position in my mind. For instance, I'll just give you an example. I've probably been the longest serving member on the STA board, I think, of everybody up here, and I've yet to be chair for that. Okay, no big deal. Not that I craved it or wanted it, but it's just, I still have a vote. I'm still on that board. Likewise, if you're not on LAFCO, we're all colleagues here. And if there's something that's pressing in another city that I need to know about, I can hear that from my colleague, like, hey, we have this thing and I'm really concerned, and share the information, because I couldn't tell you what's going on in Benicia. I couldn't tell you what's going on in Vallejo, but I would look to you two to help me understand that or explain those things to me. As far as the LAFCO thing, I know Mayor Sorshi kind of downplayed that, hey, I didn't come up here so I could get on LAFCO, and I don't think any of us did by any means. But I still will say, I think it's probably next to probably, well, SDA, SQUA. I think LAFCO is probably one of the most important things because it shapes our county. I mean, it's going to impact all of us, no matter who's on that board, and it is going to shape it. Which brings me to my next point is most of the projects are already in motion, and I'm not talking about proposed stuff, are in Dixon, Vacaville, and Sassoon right now. And so it seems to me that those people should have a voice in that. I mean, there's two members from the city of Dixon out in the audience. One ran against me and one is an often critic, but I don't know that either one of them would want decisions being made from South County, which affect them in the north. I mean, I think they might struggle with that a little bit too. I mean, there's that perception. So I'm just saying it is important. I think we need to focus on where the things are currently happening. We're still going to have a discussion as mayors, and we're going to do what we think is best for all of us in my mind. And then last but not least, gentlemen minute voting. I have no problem with the public voting on this thing that seems to be looming on all of us. I mean, I don't have a problem with that one way or another. I mean, makes our job easy. You have the citizens say what they want or they don't want. So that makes it easy. And then again, I will end with, I'll still have my nomination stand and we can go from there, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Bert. And I think we do have, it seems like 2 nominations. I am going to throw my name in the and see if I can get a second. I'll start by just saying that I did mention what I mentioned in the previous meeting, that when we're talking about ramp up time, I did sit on our planning commission for 7 years. The past 3.5 years, I was on our general plan working group, so I absolutely understand the importance of general plans, as does the county has a general plan, and I follow that because I know the amount of effort that goes into that living document as well. I have a kind of a unique background in that my background is technology. So when you think about abundance theory and you think about, what's the other word I was going to come up with, but disruption, I understand how technology companies operate. And so it gives me a unique perspective into that. Furthermore, finally, my last comment is that I've been doing economic development within my community for the past 13 years, going across the entire region, talking to individuals that have been city managers and council members to understand what economic drivers are in the region. So I am throwing, I think we'll say that we started with Mayor Bird's nomination.
Can I make
correct?
a
And we have-
comment before we go to that?
Can we what now?
May I make a comment?
Yeah, we can all
Just-
have one more comment. if-
Just wanted to say that I agree, that the California Forever should be a vote just as they had approached in the beginning. And I'm glad that Mayor Bird is. It might be something I'd like to have agendized here, to see if the mayors here could come to a consensus on that. I did go to the Board of Supervisors yesterday and asked them to do that. It is important that there be a vote. So I just wanted to make that comment, and hopefully, Chair, if we could maybe on a future put that
Yeah, we'll
on.
put that at the end of the meeting to agendize.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, so I am going to nominate myself. I'll see if there's a second. Hearing no second. Then we'll move to, we have two individuals that threw their name in the hat. We had, of course, Mayor Carley. I think that was, or Mayor Bird made the nomination, Mayor Carley, and I'm assuming you're seconding it. Is that what it is? Okay, so you're
Yes.
accepting and seconding. And then our second one is Mayor Young. Mayor Young nominated Mayor Source, and Mayor Source accepted and seconded it. So we start with the second one, which is Mayor Source as a candidate. Right? So roll call, please. I'm sorry?
Yeah.
Yes, that was the last one. So we'll take roll call on Mayor Source, and then if we don't have a decision, then we'll move to the next candidate.
Mayor Carley,
No.
Mayor Bird,
No.
Mayor Hernandez,
No.
Mayor Moy,
Yes.
Mayor Young,
Yes.
Mayor Okamura,
Yes.
and Mayor Source.
Yes.
Okay.
Motion passes.
Oh, we
4-3.
actually got it done. So, Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
And as I said, I think everyone had great discussion points and I really appreciate them. And I don't think, again, we've all said it before, Mayor Carley, we think you are spectacular. I think there are a number of other reasons why we all made the choices that we did, but I'm happy with where we are. So welcome to LAFCO. And welcome again, Mayor Byrd, right?
Can I just make a parting comment?
You may, of course.
So my encouragement to Mayor Swartz is truly to understand and lean in because this doesn't need to be political. Where it becomes political is the pressures from the public. What you'll find is the responsibility to understand the requirements for annexation, de-annexation, how it affects land use, cities that are moving projects forward. It could be a small project. It requires who's the water source. There's all kinds of boundaries that are within the county. And when I say this, I really mean this. The litmus test shouldn't be how people feel about California forever. It should be about the MSR process is real. And so whether it's land that is in the unincorporated area, that is managed and obviously controlled through the Board of Supervisors. And the cities have the roles and the responsibilities. And I just want to make a comment. Every city that is focusing on projects and plans within your city goes to LAFCO if it has a land use change, especially with where the resources are coming from. The MSRs are complex. They're designed to make sure that does the city have the resources? And I will say the city of Vacaville's, it had over 140 or hundreds of comments. It's real when it comes to making sure that cities go through the process. So I think the key moving forward is trying to depoliticize what it is. There's going to be opinions that come to our councils. I get them too about you got to be against. And where I've always said is none of us should be against something from the start if we haven't even asked the questions. It's just that the problem with LAFCO is if it does become the political litmus test, then we're missing the point. And I would just say it's been an honor to be part of it because it really is a responsibility to not try to sway what a project is, whether you like it or not. It's whether or not they've answered the questions and it meets the objectives under the law. Because whether it's California Forever or it's the city of Vallejo or Dixon or Sassoon, Sassoon has the right to study what they're going through. So you follow a good process and you ask all the questions that need be and you make those decisions. And then with that, I would just say, so I'm officially off now, but as soon as you can get into some training because there's a lot to learn. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, and so we have adjournment, but before we adjourn, Moy was proposing, maybe you could state your proposal and then see if we have consensus on putting that on our agenda.
Chair, one moment. Sorry, Mayor Moy. I want to confirm, Mayor Moy, are you looking to agendize this for the city selection committee or are you looking to agendize it?
Yes. Sorry, not you. Thank you.
Okay.
Here. Selecting anybody.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, thank you. Yeah, good point. All right, well then on that comment, I'm gonna close our meeting and adjourn it at 4:25. Thank you. Woo. Congratulations. Yeah, no, I'm.